Hey everybody, welcome to the video, welcome to the channel. We're starting off with a sunset cruise over the river. Here in a minute we're going to pan to the right. You're going to see a beautiful sunset over the ridge. Lots of stuff going on in this video, so be sure to stay tuned. Alright, so step one in today's random video, we're going to get these 18-inch double wall culverts drug pretty close to where they're going to go on the YouTube yacht, so they're kind of staged in that area. And I'm going to use a new tool that an awesome fellow fireman let me have. Some people call it a pipe dolly. I've also seen them called log arches. He used it to haul logs with, and that's what I plan on doing with it. But I haven't been able to use it since I've had it, and I thought, well, let's drag it out. Let's see how it works today, and we'll just kind of get a feel for it. It's comical. It's comical. So it's worth mentioning, I have no idea how this thing's supposed to work. I've seen pictures of it online, I've seen a few people using it on YouTube. Eventually I plan on doing some modifications to it, that's where that fancy new welder comes into play. But for the time being, I just kind of want to see how it rides, how it works behind the tractor. You know, kind of figuring this out as we go. You're going to see, like step one there, super embarrassing for whatever reason. I just wrap the chain around the handle. Of course that's not going to work. You're going to see that not work. Then we go to like a double wrap, and then like a double wrap, and then the pipe dolly tries to pass the tractor. Listen, it's a great time. Just stay on board and watch, will you? Like I promised. Comical. You ever just have one of those days you're like, I don't really care, put some chains on it, drag it, let's see what happens. Well, that's where we're going from there. We left it down there. I've got some real life thoughts on that coming up in just a minute on what I want to do with that log dolly, or pipe dolly, whatever you want to call it. And then for the time being, this is the route we're going to go. For the rest of the pipes, we're just going to strap them to the bush hog and drag them back there. We'll do that real quick in a time lapse, and then we'll get back to that log arch. Yeah, so this thing, I'm sure I mentioned it in the voiceover. Big shout out to Rob. I'm super excited about this project. Obviously, I've got to figure out a few things to do to it to make it work a little bit better for my setup. I wish I'd had the camera rolling the first time the chain come undone. I mean, the thing dang near passed the tractor. It was hilarious. I was laughing so hard. But I wanted to use it on a pipe because, you know, the pipe's similar to the log, obviously in dimensions, except it's a lot lighter, so it's a little bit safer to see how it's going to act behind the tractor. But, like I mentioned in the voiceover, I'm hoping to be able to use this for some bigger logs to carry out of here. I think, though, the first step is going to be figure out a way to come down off of here, maybe with the hefty gusset that can have an actual kind of hitch that can go behind the tractor so it physically attaches to the tractor. The whole chain it to the bush hog was comical, but not all that practical. But I am excited about this project. Really, really excited about this project. If you guys remember the grader project, I was going to do the Jeep frame. A little update on that. I'm going to take that Jeep frame and I'm actually, instead of using it for a grader now, because we've got the welder and generator, and that seems like more of a priority, I'm going to turn the Jeep frame into a welder, generator, trailer. We can put the gen set / welder on it. We can put the 100-pound propane tank on it, and I want to put a cabinet on it that'll have all the cords for generator hookup, and I can put a welding helmet, jacket, gloves, all that kind of stuff, all the welding tools and rods in that cabinet. So that's what I'm going to do the Jeep frame. But I'm excited. I'm excited to get that welder going, get some stuff ordered for it. I know I talked about it a little bit in the last video, but I'm telling you, it's on my mind every day. I've got all kinds of projects I want to do with it, and it's going to be really super handy for the YouTube yacht project as well. And speaking of the Jeep frame, and speaking of just dragging things around with chains today, we're hooking up the Jeep frame. I'm dragging it out from the house, and we're going to drag it over to the barn, which is where the welder's at. That way it's over there and ready to go. And whenever all my supplies for the welder come in, we can get going on this thing and try to get a good trailer set up for the welder. So the other day I was all excited because there's no rain in the 10-day forecast, and I don't know if you can tell, but it rained today, so that was a surprise to say the least. So anywho, I left the saw out in the woods the other day because I didn't think it was going to rain, and that's my fault. I probably should have just brought it back anyway, but I was being lazy. We're going to walk out in the woods and get it so I can put it up in the barn, and on the way back we're going to cut some vines, and I'm going to show you the different types of vines we have in this area. I've had a few questions about the vine growth here. We have three aggressive types in this area, and we'll cut some, we'll show you some, we'll try to explain what they do with some text, some voiceover, that fun stuff. And at some point the doggo is going to join us. I just know she will. She always follows me at some point. See if we can get her out here, and then we'll end it off with some awesome drone shots, some barges on the river, and play my favorite game when the river's up. It's called What's That River Trash. That's right, we try to spot things from the house that's floating down the river, and then we fly the drone out and see if we can guess what they are. So feel free to play along, stay tuned, and let's see what happens. All right, so we're walking through the woods. I don't know, there's the YouTube yacht road right there, and that's kind of the end of it. There's one of the culverts sitting there we got drug out here. So this used to be a section of ash trees. You can see they're all topless trees, mature audiences only. Topless trees here. The ash beetle came through and just destroyed all of them. If an ash tree is alive now, it won't be for long, I promise you that. You can see these persimmon trees it left behind.
Didn't even touch it, which does open up the canopy for those persimmon trees, and it does open up the canopy for some younger, nicer trees to come up as well, which over here you can see there's some nice poplar trees trying to come up, but it also lets in a lot of light and allows vines to grab onto some of this stuff and climb some of that deadfall and get up and kill the trees that are left. So let me show you the vines we got here.
All right, so the first one here is a grapevine, a wild grapevine. This one's pretty young. You can see about the diameter of my thumb. And then this one's pretty good size, and they can get pretty beefy. And then right next to it is a honeysuckle vine hanging out. Those honeysuckle vines will climb those grapevines quite a bit. And then here's another little random shot. You can see this honeysuckle, what it does to these younger trees. Just wraps itself around there and absolutely destroys them. So the Indiana DNR, the DNR in Indiana is going to tell you two different opinions on grapevines. Depends on what you want to do. If you're worried about wildlife, leave them. They're not hurting anything as far as wildlife goes. If you're worried about trying to make a harvestable timber stand in the future, you got to get rid of them. And we're trying to train this property into a harvestable timber stand, so we're trying to get rid of them. You can see here there's even some green on that honeysuckle yet. Honeysuckle will keep a little green on it in the wintertime. And you can see how it just wraps itself around trees. Here's a 4 or 5 year old tree right here. And just when it gets full foliage, the weight of that just pulls those trees down. Absolutely can destroy a wooded property. We have probably 3 or 4 acres left we're trying to work through to get that under control. And here's an example of some honeysuckle actually climbing up a grapevine like I was talking about. So there are people that use the grapes from wild grapevines to make wine. I've heard of that. Not in our area though. We have a lot of vineyards and a lot of wineries where we're at, actually, believe it or not, along the Ohio River Valley. So we just stick to the good old domesticated stuff, and we leave the wild grapes for the birds. You see, you can actually see some green on some honeysuckle up in that tree. You can see how much it gets up in that canopy and just chokes that tree out. So when I cut these vines, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but the way I do it, I cut one cut up high and one cut down low. That way it kills it down at the base, and the high cut allows the vine to swing. So whenever I look through the woods, I can see which ones are swinging and which ones I've already got to. It kind of helps me keep track of where I've been. You can see looking through here, it can kind of get a little daunting trying to see where we've been.
So that's where we just came from. We just did that time lapse. I don't know how well it showed up with the light being kind of hidden by clouds today, but I just try to get everything cut and get it down on the ground. The deadfall, whatever, the vines, get it all down on the ground so it can start rotting and it's off the trees. Eventually, like I said earlier, it'll die and fall out of the tree tops. The big problem we get is these fellers here. See that? I don't know how well that shows up, if you can see how thick it is in there, but it is thick. This tree, that tree, that tree, those are dogwood trees. And I thought about trying to save them, but I think they're beyond saving. They're pretty young. I think they're just gonna have to go away to make that happen. I'm not doing that with the chainsaw. That looks much more like a track hoe job to me. So let's continue down the woods. Let's see if we can find the third vine I want to show you. And then so that one I just cut off there. See how good size this one is. Pretty big feller. growing up on a canopy. Anywho, the last one I cut was the third one I want to show you. This is just poison ivy. Good old-fashioned poison ivy. You can tell the poison ivy vines because of how hairy they are. You see that? So whenever I cut them, I just cut like one, 6 inches down, another one, and then run the bar between the ivy and the tree and knock it off, and that normally takes care of it. Here's another good example. Here's another good poison ivy we'll cut, but also I want to show you this. This is a honey locust tree. We have two locusts here. Well, two locusts. I know we have a black locust and the honey locust, and the honey locust is pretty easy to identify because it's just terrifying. Look at that feller. Look at her. Don't look very friendly, does it? Believe it or not, there's actually, if you get on eBay, seriously, open up another window, get on eBay, look for honey locust spikes. There's two markets for honey locust spikes. It's either people making crowns for their lord, or it's people using it for satanic rituals. Not even making that up. Get on there, you'll find it. Etsy, eBay, they're on there. Two opposite ends of the spectrum, same tree providing them. That's kind of a wild thing, isn't it? All right.
Alright, so one other thing I do, and listen, this is not a how-to, I'm not giving you advice, I'm not saying this is right or wrong, I'm just telling you this is how I do it. If I have deadfall leaning in trees, I try to get rid of them. I used to just come up straight from the bottom side, but they never quite do exactly what I wanted, so I started cutting this little wedge in the back, and then coming up from the bottom side. That allows it to fall pretty clean away from the stump it's leaning from, and then it'll normally just kind of slide down the trunk of the tree it's stuck in. Like I said, not saying it's right or wrong, just saying how to do it. Okay, so I need your help with something. This massive tree fell 2 years ago. It's a part of one tree. It's 3 different trunks that come off of it. You'll see here. So there's those 2 big forks that are still standing. I don't know what kind of tree this is. I know a little bit about trees, but not a lot. I don't know what kind of tree this is. I'm going to cut into it a little bit, and I'm hoping you guys might be able to help me identify what exactly this tree is. Because I'm hoping this big beefy section at the bottom might still have enough good lumber on the inside. I might be able to, I have a dream of getting like a mill one day, maybe cutting things up. I know this top end's probably all rot, but if I cut into that top end at least, hopefully we can kind of see what we're working with. Alright, so here it is, looking at the end, you can see the outer ring is pretty rotten out, but the inside looks pretty decent, so that tells me the inside of that really beefy section is probably okay. Listen, judge-free zone, we're all trying to learn something, take it easy on me, but if you know what kind of tree this is based on what you saw on the inside, and this is that same tree based on what you're looking at on this bark here, please let me know in the comments. I'd really appreciate it.
There we go. All right, so hopefully that kind of makes sense. I've had some questions and comments about the vines and some of the trees and the brush in the background, so I want to take a minute to show you what we got going on here. That way we're all kind of on the same page. We all know the big picture we're all working together to get. I think we're making good progress. but it's just a mess. It just takes time and that good old-fashioned sweat equity. If anybody has experience in land management, and I mean experience, not like your brother's cousins, daughters, nieces, nephews, whatever, cut down a holly bush one time. I mean, like, if you have real life legitimate experience in land management, shoot me an email, or you got any tips or suggestions, that kind of thing, let me know. I'm always looking to learn something, especially from the experts out there. So one more thing before we get to the barges. We got some more packages the other day. Let's see what we got. All right, so package number one, we got this. I just did a video over these stickers and a letter they sent, and look at this. They turn right around and send an awesome t-shirt. I was talking about them the other day. SOT Metalworks, they have the YouTube page. I told you about it then, I'm telling you about it now. There it is right there. SOT Metalworks, check them out. All right, package number two we got from William Harris. It's a shop light. No, I'm just teasing. He just put it in a shop light box. What did he send? All right, we got a letter there. Oh my God. Holy cow. Guys, I might just cry. I gotta turn you around. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. I gotta turn you around. Can you see it? Look at this. Do you guys see this? Holy smokes. Sorry about that, guys. I had to turn the camera off. Got a little too real there for a minute. This is too much. This is absolutely incredible. So this is from William Harris. And William, I know William Harris is not your real name, but I don't know if you're like in a witness protection program, so I don't know if I can use your real name on YouTube. That is incredible. If anything, I've got to finish this YouTube yacht just so I have a place to hang that. It is above and beyond, and I can't thank you enough. You're going to hear from me in an email before you see this video, but just once again, thank you for that. Scroll through the comments. You guys will see William there. I started this YouTube as a way to remember all of the work and enjoy all the work that I'm putting into this project now, so that whenever I look back on it, you know, you don't want to forget where you came from. You want to remember all the good times, and you guys are making it about a whole nother thing, the whole YouTube family that we've got going on here. 6,000 subs, by the way. I can't thank you enough for that. You guys have been incredible. Thanks for the likes, the comments, the shares, everything. If you guys ever want to reach out and say hi and have a little chat, feel free to do so. You'll find my email in the description down below, and you can also find me on Instagram, which is Captain Kleeman. Before I get too emotional, let's just jump over to the barges. All right, so I was reading his letter at the house. I told you I was gonna go to the house. Oh, see, went to the house. I even changed. Gotta go pick the kids up from school. But I noticed there might be something else in the package when I was reading his letter. So he had right here, check that out, an extendable mirror, because we all enjoy mirror jokes. This way, if the mirror gets broken off old DP's truck this time, look at that, I'm covered. And then some extra O-rings, since I tend to lose O-rings. I told you this guy was hilarious. I wasn't lying to you. All right, back to the main video.
All right, guys, I don't have a barge shot for you today, but we do have this deceptively beautiful flyover. The water is glass-like that day and reflecting the sky gorgeously, but it is very deceptive. The water is up. It is nasty brown looking with a lot of trash in it. Whenever the water comes up, it picks up everything that's laying along the riverbanks and carries it on down the river and then drops it off somewhere and the water goes back down. So we like to play the game called What's That River Trash? We're coming up on 3 white objects. You see them here, 1, 2, 3. We're gonna see if we can figure out what we got floating down the river. Object number 1, we're coming up on it. Go ahead and place your bets. There's no bets. There's no money to be won here. All right, we're just joking. We're just having fun. Look at all that water. Look at all that wood and debris in there. Yup, just like we thought it would be. Pretty common styrofoam from a floating boat dock. That stuff's always floating down the river when it comes up. We're coming up on object number 2. Go ahead and place your imaginary, non-realistic bets that don't exist. We could do virtual high fives. That could be a bet we could do. That one's gonna be 55-gallon drum. If you bet a 55-gallon drum, you won absolutely nothing except a little bit of bragging rights. We're coming up on object number 3. Did I just say object number 3? I don't know. We're coming up on object number 3. It's kind of hard to see because of the glare. We're gonna spin around from the backside and we're gonna get a little bit better shot on it. See what floating river trash number 3 is. Look at all that driftwood. That's crazy. Yep. Who would have guessed it? More styrofoam from a floating dock. You can even see where the strapping was. the indentations there. All right, so thanks for playing What's That River Trash. We actually do enjoy that game. It's quite a bit of fun. You would not believe the things that float downriver. We've seen intact boat docks, we've seen hot tubs, we've seen boats, just good old-fashioned, we forgot to move our boat before the water came up, boats floating down the river. You can ask Dirt Perfect. We even went downriver and corralled a boat for a customer one day that got loose when high water came up. It is absolutely insane to see what this river carries down. There's the 55-gallon drum again. And then, you know, you can just listen to the music for the rest of this as we float over. It is deceptively beautiful with the reflection of the sky and the water, I do have to say. That's pretty wild. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Lots of great content coming up in the upcoming week. I think we're going to try to get those culverts installed. We're going to be working for Dirt Perfect some more. So lots of good stuff coming up. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.